Hello, welcome to the next episode of Red Helix Cyber in Focus. My name's Tom Exelby. I'm head of cybersecurity at Red Helix. Today, we are talking everything about Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. I'm joined by Hyson. You'll find him on LinkedIn under Antony Hyson Seltran. Hyson is a highly experienced CE and CE Plus assessor, and he is currently the lead compliance consultant at Risk Crew. He's got an MSc in cybersecurity, has passed the CE Plus assessor examinations. Hyson, it's brilliant to have someone with your expertise and your experience in delivering Cyber Essentials here to talk to us on the podcast.
Hi, Tom. Nice to meet you as well, and I'm happy to be in this podcast.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us. As I mentioned, Hyson is part of the Risk Crew team. They're part of the Red Helix group, delivering consultative engagements and professional services alongside Red Helix Cyber Services, an excellent partnership that we've got under the Red Helix group. In this episode, we're going to focus, as we usually do, talking about the threat landscape and why Cyber Essentials is so important right now. We're then going to do a bit of a deep dive into the knowledge that Hyson's got from working with clients, delivering Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus, the pitfalls, the challenges, and moving into some actionable advice about how to prepare for an assessment or for a renewal before we close out for today. The first question comes to you, Hyson. We've seen the threat landscape change dramatically over the last 12 months, and it would be remiss of us not to mention the challenges of cloud adoption, AI, also budget constraints, and the cyber talent shortage, which is constraining some businesses in building out their security. Why is Cyber Essentials important right now?
With the recent incidents with vulnerabilities and attacks, if you look into past 2 years, everything is directing towards one thing, which is SMEs, and they started targeting all the supply chains all the way to the bottom. Some of the SMEs does not even have a proper cyber security team or any certification or any framework. So that is where Cyber Essential comes in. If you think in another way, it not only accommodates smaller organization, it accommodates all size organizations diversely. It mainly focuses on the small organizations. Why is that? So that they can start with controls, which is firewall, user access management, malware protection, patch management, firewall and an internet gateway, secure configuration, user access management, malware protection, and security update management. These are the basic security controls every organization should focus on, which makes them a step closer to a secure organization. That is where Cyber Essential comes in as well.
We've seen that SMBs are really in the crosshairs of attackers. The cybersecurity and resiliency bill is really going to bring to life, once the reporting kicks in under that legislation, exactly how many of these incidents are caused just by poor cybersecurity basics. That's really where Cyber Essentials has such a superpower. It's providing that gateway framework into building the foundations of what you want to be a brilliant security situation. From your perspective, why do you think that SMBs is so much in the crosshairs of attackers?
It's mainly because of the human factor, I would say. Lack of training, cybersecurity awareness trainings, and secure configurations from their end itself. Mostly, I would say human factor.
It's such a challenge with AI, phishing, and all the other different variants of ishing that we're hearing about, vishing and smishing. It all comes down to manipulating human nature and human behaviors. The other things around credentials theft, unpatched systems, they're all going to be Cyber Essentials, and adhering to that frameworks is going to go some way into making you a more difficult target for an attacker if you've put something in place that's going to support the security around those particular elements. There was a fantastic release from the Anthropic Red team the other week, speaking about not necessarily Mythos, but also some of the other publicly available models and their ability to take patches and reverse engineer them to understand the exploit. Not only are we saying there's a patching challenge, we now know that publicly available AI solutions can reverse engineer a patch to find an exploit. So you've now got even less time to patch your systems. Not necessarily good news, but it really highlights the challenge that businesses face when they're trying to build out their security stack. The principles of cyber essentials continue to be relevant even when we're talking about advanced threats such as that. About the supply chain pressure, that's also really important when we're talking about SMBs, because a lot of businesses that will be thinking about cyber essentials or maybe looking to enhance their security situation by bringing in a accessible framework. They're key businesses within the UK supply chain and supply chains of big businesses. So what do you think that element of supply chain security has with the impact on cyber essentials and the requirement for it?
The key changes I would say is focusing on the fundamental controls again and emphasizing more on patch management. As per the NCAC guidelines, the 14-day patching is very important in terms of a secure organization. As you already mentioned, with AI, you get narrower time frame to patch whatever you find. This 14-day patch management cycle, it's better than nothing, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, absolutely. And to say that we're going to be patching within hours is a very lofty requirement, and you'd need a significant team to be able to even think about doing that. But just having some guardrails and aiming point as to what good practice probably should look like is important. And talking about what good looks like, the Cyber Essentials scheme has developed over the years. Part of the reason why we're talking today is also because there's been a recent update. From your perspective and your experience, how is Cyber Essentials moving with the times, and how is it developing alongside the changing threat landscape?
Comparing last 2 years, there is not much major changes, but they have made it stricter, more descriptive. For example, the same with 14-day patch management. Now it's stricter comparing last year. You would get a non-compliance if you don't have it last year, and now it's a direct assessment failure. They are putting everything on the patch management as well as the MFA bits just to make sure. So even though you don't have a minimum password length, but MFA would still act as a second help to
Yeah.
secure you.
And we know because of the identity-based threats that we've seen and the way that that's been influencing, exactly to your point around the human factor, the requirement for multi-factor authentication has become even more important. We'll get on to Cyber Essentials, Danzel, and the updates that that's brought shortly. Getting into the real meat of our discussion, um, does Cyber Essentials actually work?
Yes, it does work, I would say, because it focuses on the commonly known vulnerabilities, patch management, configurations, all the basic stuff which makes a organization secure from the basics. It does secure you and make your employees cautious by the awareness training from the start. So yes, it does work. And if you look at the track record of Cyber Essentials, every year we get minimum 20% increase in certifications for every organization.
Yeah, that's really good growth compared to some other certifications that are out there. You mentioned when we were prepping for this, there's some free insurance policy that's connected to it. This is amazing because we know that less than 5% of SMBs in the UK have actually bought cyber insurance. As practitioners, we know that cyber insurance plays a critical role in anyone's security program. Talk to me about the free insurance policy that comes with IASME for people with Cyber Essentials.
Whoever gets Cyber Essentials, they get a free default cyber insurance. There is a one clause to it. As long as the organization makes less than 20 million turnover a year, you're auto enrolled to the Cyber Essential insurance. Where this helps is small organization, macro organizations. It helps them a lot. As well as there is a new addition as the pre-warning to a zero-day attack.
Yeah, being part of that network. And that's fantastic. And it just shows the confidence that IASME has in the quality of Cyber Essentials and the approach Cyber Essentials is going to bring into a business to enhance its security. What do you think are the barriers to getting Cyber Essentials? There's probably people here thinking, there's no way I could possibly achieve this with my team. You engage with lots of customers on a regular basis to do assessments and kick off building programs towards achieving CE. What do you think these barriers are, perceived or otherwise?
Personally, we have helped with organization from scratch where they did not have any policies. This is where IASME as well as Risk Crew comes in. So IASME provides you, if an organization does not have any policies, they do have templates for you. You can go to IASME website and download templates for user access management and secure control policies and everything. They have templates for you, as well as we help every single client with that. I would say that would be it.
There's a number of businesses that have got Cyber Essentials, but there's also Cyber Essentials Plus. So talk me through that, what it is and what the added benefits are on top of Cyber Essentials.
Cyber Essentials, if you take as a basic, it is a questionnaire where you will be answering yes or no. And if you have a policy, you will be summarizing it and writing the steps of it. Cyber Essential Plus is technical audit of the Cyber Essentials Basic. Whatever you have written and answered in the Cyber Essential Basic, we will be auditing against it for the CE Plus. It consists of malware testing, email application testing, as well as account segregation, and few other controls we will be testing. For laptop servers, we will be scanning them, and there are internal, external scans as well. Also, it does have a 30-day remediation period when we do the Cyber Essentials as well. If they fail any of the segmentations or test cases, we can always ask them and help them fix and then get them passed.
That's the added benefit, but with experts like yourself. I've just done a quick Google search, and there are 59,000 certificates that have been awarded for Cyber Essentials in the most recent 12-month period. That's saying about 44,000 of those are standard CE certificates and 14 CE plus certificates. There's a bit of a difference between how many businesses are going for each level. What would be the different motivations between a business that's just happy sat with Cyber Essentials and actually then that small amount of businesses that wants to progress to Cyber Essentials Plus?
Two reasons I would say. One is because of a supplier need, or if they want a government contract. So Cyber Essential plays a huge role in government contracts. If they want something from the government as is in contract, or their supplier requires it, then they will get Cyber Essentials. And if they need more, then they will get Cyber Essentials Plus. And there is another case where they genuinely want their organization to be secure and they want to learn more and they want to update themselves with every single scheme, then they go for Cyber Essentials and the Cyber Essential Plus. It all depends on what is the use case the consumer as well as their supplier requires.
There's a big impetus there on who's asking for it. People are asking for it. It's going to become more prevalent. For example, if you've got larger organizations, the Ministry of Defense, as you mentioned, defense contracts, but you could imagine larger manufacturing firms, automotive manufacturing firms, supermarket supply chain firms. If they turned around and said, you're in our supply chain, we want to do business with you, you need to have Cyber Essentials Plus, it's probably something that would really enhance the security of that supply chain over people having just regular Cyber Essentials.
Yeah. That's correct.
That's a really interesting message for people that are managing supply chains is, are you content with regular Cyber Essentials being achieved, or do you want to really see that extra effort that's been put in? Really useful and an interesting point. I hadn't realized the uptake for a Cyber Essentials Plus. 14,000 is quite limited of the 59,000 certificates that have been provided, especially when the other statistic here is that it makes people 92% less likely to make a claim on their cyber insurance, i.e. less likely to be breached, which is a fantastic statistic for what is a reasonably cost effective and not a huge jump from having nothing, but an important step nonetheless. In April 2026, we've had the new release of Cyber Essentials Danzel scheme updates. Talk me through what's changed, because from what I understand, there's going to be some challenges for people who are going to renew their Cyber Essentials under the new scheme. They really do need to be prepared for what's changed.
Comparing below, there are few major changes as well as minor changes, I would say. First, as I already mentioned, the patch management as well as the MFA. In terms of CE, both of them used to be major non-compliances before. Under Willow, with Danzel, both have made it automatic failure of the assessment, as well as there are few other minor changes. For example, if you have any legal entities under a registered main certificate name you're planning to get, it is mandatory to mention under a separate section. These are new sections, but nothing to fear. Comparing below, just extra 2-3 sections which you need to fill in. But the major changes are 14-day patching as well as MFA. MFA, the key thing is if the vendor provides MFA, but it is under a paid version, you can no longer opt for no MFA and go with the free version. If a vendor provides it, you have to pay and get it. It's mandatory. As long as the vendor does not support it, then you can mention it in a separate section where it does not have MFA. So it will still be a pass. Moving to CE Plus. So before in Willow, you can still move on from CE to CE Plus with 2 major non-compliances in your certificate. Now you have to have a clean CE basic certificate to even be eligible for CE plus. ISME wants to make sure everything's strict and clean for you to be eligible for CE plus without any issues in your CE certificate. In terms of CE, the major changes, the sampling and the scanning bit. I will start from the asset verification process. There is an asset verification process which starts 3 days before the audit, where we will be checking the asset as per the OS version count against the CE report itself. If there is any changes, we will amend it in the sampling list, and we will send the sample 3 days before the audit. During the audit, we will do this testing for laptops, mobiles, and scanning external, internal. If there is a segregation, if they are getting a separate scope instead of whole organization, then there will be a segregation test as well in the form of
So
ping
from
test.
my understanding, just teasing something out there, if you're scanning and you are then sending that before the test, but there can't be any discrepancies, that comes back to visibility. You've got to have fantastic visibility over your estate. That's
Correct.
really important. A lot of businesses really struggle with that. From these points, it seems like Cyber Essentials Plus is going to be an even bigger step from Cyber Essentials than it has been before.
Yes, that is correct. The next step is the main change, I would say. I send them a sample list 3 days before. We will test it on the audit day, and we will kick off the internal scans for the end user devices, laptops, and servers. For example, let's say we take 5 Windows 11 Pro 25H2s and we scan them, and we find few vulnerabilities on the day of the first initial scan, and they get 30 days to remediate those vulnerabilities, not only in those 5 devices, to the entire asset list for the whole organization. They have to scan it. If they have scanning agents, they can scan it and they can find it and they can fix it for the entire asset list. Then they will come back to us and they're like, we are ready for the rescan. This is where the major change comes. We have to select another same sample size as a second sample. For example, another 5 Windows 11 Pro 25H2, and scan both at the same time to confirm these changes and these vulnerabilities has been fixed across the organization. If we find them having the same vulnerability from the initial scan in the second sample list, then it is considered fail and there is no more rescans. They fail the CE plus as well as their CE report gets revoked.
If you're going for Cyber Essentials Plus and something untoward is being inspected, you not only don't achieve Cyber Essentials Plus, you also then lose your Cyber Essentials certificate going back to the start. That's going to make things really difficult for businesses. People will now be thinking, oh, I don't know if this is for me, because this could be a real challenge. What would you say to those people who are thinking that at this point?
Again, this is where Risk Crew and other CBs come in, where to help you get CE plus certified, and also from the client and applicant end itself is to maintain a good patch management. Usually, these internal scans focus on older patches and misconfigurations. Misconfiguration, once you have fixed it, then it's fixed, unless if there is any other misconfiguration occurs with Windows update or any other updates. Otherwise, we only focus on patches 14 days or older. If they have a good patch management process, then they don't have to worry about C plus at all.
It seems like that's a big barrier to Plus, is having that discipline and close project management over your patch management. Moving on slightly, we've talked about the threats, why it's important, the elements that it covers, what's changed with Danzel. We've probably got people thinking, okay, where do I start? Maybe someone's found us on YouTube or Spotify and they're thinking, right, I've searched this specifically and listening to Tom and Hyson waffle on specifically because I'm interested in this and I've got it on my to-do list. Let's start from the beginning in terms of preparing for an assessment or a renewal. How long before a business is planning their approach to renewal certification should they start to sort of put things in place and prepare?
For a start, they need to start collecting their asset lists. They should be up to date. I would say 1 to 2 months before the renewal date of the CE plus. That's when they get the 30-day timeline, so that by the time the CE plus expires, they can get renewed as well. First, they have to make sure they have their asset list up to date and make sure they don't have any unsupported software, unsupported models of network equipments, and make sure all the cloud services has MFA and mainly 14-day patching, or their patching itself should be good. These four, they should maintain it properly with the discipline. Once they're ready, if any organization want to get certified for CE, they can go to IASME website, and IASME offers two options. One is they can come to us for CE as well as CE plus, or they can approach IASME and they have IASME pool where they directly sign up. They can download the question set, which is Danzel right now, and they can go through it, they can fill it out, and they can send it to IASME, and they will review it. Again, the review process is one of us assessors. IASME send it to us every month, and we review it and we certify it for IASME. That's it. Once they get certified for CE, they can again approach IASME, and they will guide them towards a list of CBs like Riskguru, and they can contact us via IASME or directly Riskguru itself. Then we will kick off the project, and we can help them with the asset verification, the CE audit, and everything.
It seems like working with a partner who's got the sort of experience that you would have, a consultant that's running this, is really beneficial. Some people go at the scheme and they really struggle through it. Where do you think organizations commonly fail for CE Plus, and therefore the place they really want to make sure that they can tick the box before they come for an assessment or a certification?
I would say they fail. For example, if it's a macro organization, they usually fail because of lack of policies, I would say. They won't really have a leavers policy or joiners policy, or they won't really have complex password policies. Because they have a very small number of assets, they will have a good patch management because of very less number of asset list, but they will fail in terms of the policies. If we move forward to the next step of bigger organizations, they will fail in terms of asset list and OS versions. Few OS versions will be out of date past its end of life, which is unsupported, which will directly result in an automatic fail. Same with patch management. When they have a bigger asset list, it's hard to maintain a good patch management as well. That also they fail. This is a very uncommon one. Network equipments. It goes end of life. They will never know. They will buy it, they will set it up, and it's been running for years, and they will never look back at it. And it goes end of life. And when they come for CE Plus, that's when we will be like, that's end of life. You have to change it, which takes a longer process to replace.
And presumably the reason behind that, going to an earlier point around the importance of patching and how new parts of the threat landscape are really developing very quickly against going after unpatched systems. When network equipment goes out of support, it's not getting patched anymore. Any vulnerabilities that are identified, there's nothing you can do about that, and they can continue to be exploited. Yeah, as you said, a straight fail for CEs. That's the next step. What do people commonly fail about Cyber Essentials? Is it the same for Cyber Essentials Plus, or other factors that you see?
In terms of Cyber Essentials Plus, the fail comes in if they lie in CE. If they lie in CE, it will be pretty visible. We can notice the lie in the CE Plus. For example, if they have a bad configuration in terms of malware and firewall, when we do the malware as well as firewall testing, we can see if it goes through or not. If they have a good malware protection, then it will block everything, so it's good. If they don't, it will go through and it's a fail. We will usually notice how the system and the OS build behaves as well. Another thing is if they have a bad patch management, we always check the OS version before we start the audit for a specific device. No matter it can be a mobile or it can be a laptop, we always check the OS version first, because that will show us how good the system is and how good their patch management is. If they fail that, it is a fail as well for CE. Again, they get for all these fails, they get 30 days of remediation time, and they can fix it. And one more thing, this is a very common failure in terms of CE plus, is account separation. Randomly, we will be doing an audit and we will find few of the users using administrator account, which is not allowed in CE. It can be a director, it can be any board member. Everyone should have account separation. Their day-to-day account should be a standard user account. Only if they need to install or do anything which requires administrator access, they need to request it.
That makes sense, especially when we know that the identity threat is being exploited by adversaries right now. So a good just-in-time access principles or zero trust principles should be at the heart of everybody's security program. Picking those bits apart, it's really important to get your best practices in place. We've talked about patch management quite a lot. It's good patch management in line with the timelines that Cyber Essentials stipulates is tick. We've got to get that in place. What other elements of best practice do you think people should be really focusing on?
I would say have a good cybersecurity awareness training, because every basic attack leads to a human factor. As I said before, good awareness training, keeps them away from phishing attacks and fake emails and credential theft and everything. Good policy to review their firewall rules, configurations, and making sure they have a good IAM process and policies. Yeah.
The basics of maintaining policies have got to be in place, right? Keeping things up to date, making sure they're recirculated as required, communicated, and being actioned upon. What about configurations? We spoke about that earlier briefly about network equipment, but is that something you have a specific focus on in Cyber Essentials?
We only focus on the model numbers, model names, and their support when it comes to CE, because that's where we will look into the model details, whether it's supported or not. If it's not, it's an immediate fail, and we will let them know. Not in CE+.
That's really interesting and very clear. What about some actionable advice? Let's say we've got someone who has their renewal coming up. Where do they go 2 months out to start working towards their renewal?
If they're going for renewal, the easiest way, if they are a small client and they have already been certified, they can always go to approach IASME and go through Cyber Essentials pool, or they can approach us as well, CBs, Risk Crew, and other CBs, and we will get them certified. The best part about approaching a CB is they know what your asset as well as your network scope is, because scoping is one very important stage in CE itself. You have to decide your network scope, and then you have to proceed with Cyber Essentials. Without scoping of a network, there is no Cyber Essentials. You have to decide which network to be in scope and out of scope. Then you can proceed with Cyber Essentials. With CBs, they already know what your scope is, and then as soon as you get certified for CE, they can move forward to CE+. With IASME, you will only be able to get certified for Cyber Essentials, and then they will direct you to any of the CBs.
That's where the question set comes from. So you download the question set, see what you're going to be asked, and work towards achieving those. That's when you speak to your consultant house, your professional services firm to say, I need your help. And they get someone like you. We talked about it, and you've done 200 Cyber Essentials engagements with 100% success rate, which provides some element of confidence for people around engaging professionals to support them in delivering this and getting them to be successful. It's really valuable. We're nearly out of time, but what's the one key takeaway you think you've got for listeners about Cyber Essentials as a whole? We've spoken about some of the minutiae, but if I took a step back and say, Hyson, what's the one thing I need to take away from here?
Cyber Essentials is the start of your organization to easily remove any type of leads for an attacker, and you can secure your organization with Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. This will be the first step for a good security posture for our organization.
Going back to something we were talking about earlier, there's an element about walk before you can run with some of these things. And walking your way through Cyber Essentials into Cyber Essentials Plus is far easier than sprinting after NIST or CAF and going after these huge frameworks, when actually there's this ready-made offering from the NCSC and IASME in Cyber Essentials to get people started, get people on the ladder and develop security building blocks for then employing a wider framework.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Wonderful. Hyson, it's been fantastic speaking to you. I have to say it's quite a dry subject, but I think that we've got across with some of the statistics, and especially as we talk about it as a building block for a more sophisticated security program, the importance and the value that Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus plays in the UK with our economic security, businesses being secured from breaches, supply chain security. All really hot topics and really important to be discussing right now. Thank you very much for sharing your insight. It's been really great having you on the show, and I'm sure we will have you back on to talk about another element of compliance or governance in the coming weeks.
Yeah, definitely. It
Brilliant.
was great speaking to you as well, Tom.
Thank you very much, Hyson. For those listening, I hope you've taken away that in-depth discussion about Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. You can reach out to myself or Hyson on LinkedIn, or get in touch through the Red Helix or Risk Crew website if you want any further guidance. We'll certainly get some links in the description below to allow you to go and find where to look on the NCSC and IASME website about the schemes that we've mentioned. For those of you that haven't tuned in to Cyber in Focus podcast before, we've got a plethora of back episodes, including some really interesting discussions with experts such as Hyson, talking about other key topics within the cybersecurity industry, specifically ransomware, security leadership, threat intelligence, amongst others. Make sure you go and have a look through and listen to some of those episodes. And once you've had a listen, make sure you provide us some feedback. And if you've got topics that you want us to cover, leave them in the comments and we can get after them and release them in the future. Thank you very much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to listen to us on Spotify while you're on the go, make sure you look out for Red Helix Cyber and Focus on Spotify as well. Thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it and looking forward to providing you some more insights in our next episode.